This video is brought to you by Law Excellence IAS Academy.
Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Deep Daily Editorial Enrichment Program of Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 24th June 2019. The first article is Reimagining the Niti Aayog. So this is related to functions and responsibilities of the union and the states, federal structure, devolution of powers and finances up to local levels, and challenges therein. So simply we can put it as this is part of fiscal federalism in our syllabus. To understand this article, we need to have certain background. You know that in our constitutional arrangement, more funds are with the center and more responsibilities with the states. So that's why among the taxes collected by the center, these have to be devolved to the states. This is what we call it as vertical devolution. The money coming to the states have to be devolved across various states. So dispensing the money across various states, this is called horizontal devolution. So this vertical and horizontal devolutions are done on the recommendations of the Finance Commission. This is between the center and the states. Then what about the local governments? As of now, there is no obligatory devolution to the local governments. It is left on the state government to devolve the funds to local governments. It means if the states are interested, they can give funds to local government. If not, they will go dry. So democratic decentralization talks about transferring three F's: finances, functions, and functionaries to the local governments. And the next point which we have to understand is Gadgil-Mukherjee formula. With regard to center to the states devolution, for devolution of the taxes, we have Finance Commission. And under Article 282 of the Constitution, center can give the states the discretionary grants for various infrastructure projects. Previously, Planning Commission used to make recommendations on these discretionary grants under Article 282. And when Planning Commission used to make the recommendation, how much has to be given to which state, it used to take a formula into consideration. The name of the formula is called Gadgil-Mukherjee formula. Now today, the Planning Commission no more exists. Then Niti Aayog do not have the power to recommend for the financial transfers. Niti Aayog can only create the agenda for the government. That is the existing situation. So in this context, let us further understand this article. So if you go specific into this article, it says there are four pillars to the fiscal federalism. The first pillar is Finance Commission. So Finance Commission is responsible for vertical and horizontal devolution. Vertical devolution means between the center and the states. Horizontal devolution means across the states. And the second is Niti Aayog. So previous Planning Commission, what it used to do, it used to provide for advice to the government and on devolution to the various states under Article 282. So most of the capital expenditure fallen into the domain of Planning Commission. So in this context, the Niti Aayog today do not have this power to recommend for financial transfers. What the author suggests is Niti Aayog can be given a defined role so that it can make serious recommendations on capital deficit of the states, which was earlier performed by the Planning Commission. But however, the Planning Commission then was criticized as a super cabinet. The Niti Aayog is not expected to become a super cabinet. So there has to be evaluation function on capital devolved by the Niti Aayog. But however, this evaluation function shall not lead to unnecessary interference of the functioning of government departments. That is what is the suggestion. When come to the local governments, as of now, the money has to move from the center to the states, from the states to the local governments. The article recommends that let's create consolidated fund separately for the local governments. Any financial transfers can go directly from center to the consolidated fund of the local government concerned. Any transfer from the state also get into the consolidated fund of the local government. This provides for predictability of the funds. So the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts gets strengthened. Here, with regard to GST, what the author suggests is certain percentage of the GST proceeds of CGST and SGST shall directly get into the accounts of the local governments. That's what the author talks about. And finally, the GST can be another pillar of fiscal federalism. You know that GST has come into existence through the consensus of the center and the state governments. But however, we are facing many bottlenecks in its implementation. What shall we do? We aim for simplification. So instead of having three different types of the returns, we can have only one. Instead of having these many tax slabs, as like in the Western countries, we can have only one tax slab. And then GST can be extended for petroleum products, etc., which are being kept out of it now. So these are stated to be the four pillars of the fiscal federalism according to this article. Now, if these are being taken forward, a new federal architecture in the form of cooperative federalism can be a reality for India. That's what the author aspires for. The next article for discussion, a dialogue of civilizations. Here, I'm going to place this article as part of culture and also as part of international affairs. But this article is essentially important for essay writing. Please go through the ideas how author presented to understand the presentation of essay. It is very lucid, simple and clear to understand. Now there are two ideas which are being stated in this article. One is the clash of civilizations by Samuel Huntington. The concept over here is the Western and Eastern civilizations. They clash at some point. In this process, Western civilization is expected to dominate. And it is countered by Muhammad Khatami, who stated that it is not the clash of civilizations, it is dialogue among civilizations that is more important. So if you see this dialogue among civilizations, it is more egalitarian and it has respect for both Western and Eastern civilizations and it ensures that the civilization shall give something to the mankind rather than keeping the mankind against each other. So United Nations also has taken forward this dialogue among civilizations as a new idea to create peace. Let us see the contents of this article. So today there is a trade war between US and China. So the clash of civilization is also called as a racial theorization. Why? Previously, when there was Cold War between US and Russia, it was believed that it was a fight between Caucasians. So fight between brothers. So today, many of the people in America say the ongoing USA and China trade war, it is more of a kind of a Cold War between Western and Eastern powers. So they believe that the clash of civilizations is becoming a reality. And also they believe Western ideas are much higher ideas, so they sustain. So in this, the racial and Western centric concept of clash of civilizations slowly has to give way for the concept of dialogue between civilizations. President of China, Xi Jinping, he is actually promoting this dialogue between civilizations. The central idea is all civilizations are equal, they have an inherent strength. Then the exchange between civilizations will create learning and it will make all of us live at peace with each other. So he has conducted a conference on dialogue of Asian civilizations. In this, he has categorically stated that today we are moving from industrial civilization to ecological civilization. So the Western concept of clash of civilizations is based on the existence of strong industrial society. So industrialization started in the West. It has created certain ideas along with it. But however, it also damaged the Mother Earth. So we are moving from industrial civilization to ecological civilization. So it means that The industrial civilization and the ideas dominant at that point of time cannot be carried forward. We need to generate new ideas that can create harmony between man and nature. And the second, in this article, the author says that if the civilizations are exclusivist, inward looking, and gets themselves separated from others, they are expected to disappear. If you take human body, the metabolism happening in the human body also sustains various organisms living on it. So a synergistic relationship is possible. Similarly, the inclusive civilizations have to sustain or will sustain, exclusive civilizations will disappear. So if we take India for that matter, India can be credited with providing a strong civilization value to the world, either Rig Veda or Indus Valley civilization. To that matter, the amalgamation of various religions, Buddhism, Jainism, Islam, everything, it is a melting pot of different customs, cultures, religions. That's why it has a strong civilization. So India also take a step towards promoting the dialogue between the civilizations is the suggestion of this article. And the next is waking a diplomatic tightrope. This is an article, India and its bilateral relations, where it fits in, that is India United States of America. So here we have to understand few terms. One is protectionism. So improving or increasing tariffs and not allowing the foreign goods coming inside. That's a typical example for protectionism. Let's take United States of America raised tariffs on Indian aluminum and steel by 10 and 25%. So when the tariffs are increased, these goods become expensive and the consumer demand decreases. That's what we call protectionism. And the trade surplus, when India USA trading with each other, so if India export more goods to USA, then what is imported in India from USA, then India is said to be having trade surplus with United States of America. And Wuhan summit. So after the Doklam issue, Doklam standoff, Indian Prime Minister visited China. So Indian Prime Minister and President of China both they spoke in Wuhan, which has normalized the relations. This is popularly known as Wuhan Summit. These are the three words you need to learn. So let's see the understanding of this article. India USA relations can be seen from different perspectives and dimensions. When we see them from the trade and economic dimension, today US wants to expand its market. So US wants the tariffs of the other countries to be decreased so that its goods can become competitive in those markets. Let's take Harley Davidson bike. 50% is the tariff imposed by India, which US do not like. And US believes that its products are becoming non-competitive in India. And the second is, with regard to technology, US wants the intellectual property rights to be protected and or else e-commerce and promoting for data localization. All these rules of India, these are not very consumptive for United States of America. And the second, US in turn is imposing the tariffs on Indian goods. Simple example is aluminium and steel exports from India. And it means Indian goods are going to become non-competitive. And also USA removed India from the generalized system of preferences. In this context, if from the trade dimension, USA is not distinguishing between India, China, Europe, etc. But on the strategic dimension, China is a more worrisome for United States of America. So all the previous presidents saw the China as an adversary and they wanted to make India as a strategic ally. So that's why they proposed for Quad with India, USA, and then Australia and Japan. And on the cultural side, Indian immigrants are not welcome in the United States of America as the things are going on because the local jobs have to be promoted. This is what is the slogan of Mr. Trump. So he is keeping restrictions on H1B visas. So in this case, the human rights issues, Western standards of democracy, promoting Christian missionaries, and encouraging the NGOs of United States of America, all these are not welcome in India. So there are certain areas where USA and India can work together. There are few other areas where they do not have proper working relationship. As more and more America is looking at trade as an important aspect, then India and USA relations are on the brinksmanship. And the next, the clouds of war. So, this is about Iran USA relations. This article is related to important events that are happening in India, in the world, and their impact on India. So, here we need to geographically see one thing that is called Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is located between Gulf of Oman and Persian Gulf, and Iran is on one side, UAE is on other side, and then Oman is the other side of this particular strait. And one third of the global natural gas, 20% of the oil, this all goes through this particular strait, and it is an energy lane, important energy lane. So tomorrow, if we want to decrease the risk, what shall we do? We have to build more oil pipelines in this particular location. And in this context, let's understand this article, Cloud of War. What it says is USA has resorted to maximum pressure tactic on Iran. What it did, it has walked out of the Iran nuclear deal, though Iran is standing by its agreement. And the second thing is, it also has ensured that the economic sanctions sustain, and it did not allow for the other countries to trade with Iran, for example, India. So, Iran was very much worried about this. And the second, Iran, as clearly stated, gave ultimatum to European Union, who are also partners to Iran nuclear deal, stating that it will start enriching the uranium. It will also do not abide by the deal. So finally, certain ships were broken on the Strait of Hormuz, war clouds developed, and added to that, an UAV got shot down on the Iranian airspace, which also led to the war clouds. In this context, the President of United States of America, Mr. Trump, has to understand that the war or the pressure tactic is not working on Iran. He has to ensure that the relations becomes normal, and it has to lead to the better energy security of the world. And the next article, lackluster meat. This is about GST. Here there is one word which has been stressed, that is called non-profiteering clause, an anti-profiteering body. What it means, when the GST was started, the rates came down. Because of this, many of the traders who has got the old stock can benefit from it. So what the government want, whatever the benefits GST has brought in, these need to be transferred to the customer. If trader tries to make a benefit out of it, it can be considered as a profiteering, illegal profiteering, and subjected to penalty. So here, rather than giving marketing mechanisms, government is trying to provide for power to bureaucracy to control the profit of the market, profit of the traders. Now, what are the important points of the article? So, GST rates are not decreased. So, it is expected that to boost the growth, the GST rates will be decreased, and it will boost the consumption demand. But the decision was not taken. An anti profiteering clause was tightened, giving more powers to the tax officials, which can increase the rent seeking behavior. And finally, two important decisions taken were simplification of filing of returns and accepting Aadhaar as a proof to get a GST number. These are the decisions which are taken. So the decisions can be better, or the GST shall be used as a tool to improvise the consumption demand in the country, which can facilitate the economic growth. The next article, creating sanctuaries of hope for migrant workers. Where it can be related in our syllabus, it is with regard to vulnerable sections. In our second paper, social justice, we have vulnerable sections. Migrant workers are one such vulnerable sections. So let us see what are the problems of the migrant workers. Now, any migrant worker, he do not have a place to stay, and second, he will be away from his family. And the third thing is, many of the migrant workers are exploited, and no social security benefits are provided to them. Added to that, there is a discrimination based on ethnicity. Now, if you see a person from Assam or Orissa is working in Andhra Pradesh in Hyderabad, so probably there is an exploitative relation between the employer and the employee. So ethnic differences and lack of access to basic amenities like health, education, and housing are the major difficulties of the migrant workers. And these people form one fifth of the labor force in India and contribute to around 6% of GDP, close to $170 billion. Now, government to provide better amenities to them, it has created cess, and almost $3 billion fund is awaiting in this cess, and most of the migrant workers do not have proper identity to get benefited from this fund. And second, there is also a law to protect them, that is Interstate Migrant Workers Act, and it is not being properly implemented. So there are two case studies which I am very fond of over here. In Bhuj, Gujarat, the temporary housing is provided to the migrant workers. It is reported not only in India, across the world. So you create this particular thing as a case study in your answer. And the second is migrant women workers and their empowerment. In this case, women toilet masons. These women toilet masons were very famous in Assam. These are the migrant Muslim women who are able to seek into construction work and able to empower themselves. It is in Barpeta district of Assam. And the similar thing I also came across in Jharkhand. These are called Rani Mistris. So these people are also involved with construction work, which was originally the domain of the men. Today, our focus has to be affordable temporary housing for these migrant workers and inclusive urbanization, where migrants also becomes the part of the success story of Indian urbanization. That is what the essence of the article. Finally, thank you very much. Have a great day. We are trying to improve the deep program to the next level. This is the first attempt towards it, and there is a bit of confusion here and there. Sorry for the inconvenience. And the second thing, the explanation is expected to reach to the next level with basic explanation of terms and also concept, and then the article. So the backgrounders are being given for few seconds before the concept is explained to you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.